From rejection to awakening, the journey home. Hello everyone and welcome to Awakening with Kim. Today I want to share something deeply personal with you. Not because my story is unique, but because perhaps parts of it are your story too. I was born in a small village in Punjab, India. I was the second child in the family. The first child was a girl. When my sister was born, the family was disappointed, but they accepted it. Then a second child arrived, and it was another girl. That was me. Years later, my mother told me something that stayed with me. My grandfather, my father's father, was so upset that the second child was also a girl that he refused to eat for an entire week. When I was born, they didn't place me on the bed beside by my mother. They put me on the floor. Why? Because I was a girl. In their minds, I wasn't worth celebrating. Imagine beginning life with that message before you can even speak. You are not enough. You are not worthy. Many of us carry some version of that story. Maybe no one placed you on the floor, but perhaps you were made to feel unwanted, unseen, and unloved. For years, I carried that feeling. I felt inferior. I felt less than. I felt like I had something to prove. But then something beautiful happened. On the second week after I was born, my mother's grandfather came to visit. He looked at me and said, "Oh my God, she's not just an unwanted girl. She is a beautiful soul." One person saw something different. One person looked beyond the labels. And perhaps that was the first hint of what I would spend my entire life discovering, that we are so much more than the stories others place upon us. As I grew older, the search began. Like many seekers, I wanted answers. I searched through religion. I searched through spirituality. I searched through teachers and traditions. I spent years in the Gurdwara. Then I discovered Osho. Later I encountered books like The Disappearance of the Universe and A Course in Miracles. Layer after layer, belief after belief, identity after identity, the peeling continued. It was as if life was slowly removing everything I thought I was. The process lasted nearly a decade. Sometimes it was beautiful, sometimes it was painful, sometimes it felt like everything I believed was being dismantled. But looking back now, I see something clearly. Every step was necessary. Even the suffering, even the confusion, even the feeling of being lost. One of the greatest lessons life taught me during this journey was forgiveness. Not the kind of forgiveness that says what happened was okay, not the kind that pretends the pain never existed. I'm talking about real forgiveness, the kind that sets you free, the kind that releases the burden you've been carrying for years, the kind that finally stops arguing with the past. Because no matter how much we wish it were different, the past never changes. We can spend decades replaying it, analyzing it, blaming ourselves or others, and yet nothing changes. Forgiveness is the moment you put down the weight, the moment you stop fighting, the moment you stop forcing, the moment you simply let go. And when you let go, something remarkable begins to happen. A space opens within you, a silence, a peace, a freedom that was always there, hidden beneath the noise. And then something extraordinary happened in our lives. In April of 2020, my husband Joe woke up one morning and experienced something that completely changed the course of our journey. When he tried to describe it, the words sounded almost impossible. He said the sense of being a separate person had disappeared. Not that Joe had disappeared physically, but the feeling of being a separate me had vanished. He told me it no longer felt as though Joe was inside the universe. Instead, it felt as though the entire universe was inside him. There were no boundaries, no divisions, no separation between observer and observed. Everything was connected. Everything belonged. Everything was one. There was only presence, only awareness, only what is. What impacted me most wasn't simply what he said. It was what I felt. A profound bliss radiated from him. A peace unlike anything I had ever witnessed. Not excitement, not happiness, something much deeper. A quiet joy, a stillness that seemed to embrace everything. And for nearly 30 days that bliss remained. It wasn't an idea, it wasn't a philosophy, it was alive. And something fascinating began happening. Simply by sitting beside him, I started experiencing that peace too. No teachings, no techniques, no effort, just presence. That became the turning point in our lives, the game changer, the great shift, the moment everything we had searched for suddenly began making sense. Together we returned to A Course in Miracles. Together we revisited The Disappearance of the Universe, books I had read before, teachings we thought we understood. But this time it was different. We weren't merely reading the words with our minds, we were experiencing what the words were pointing toward. And after decades of searching through philosophy, psychology, spirituality, religion, and personal growth, what I eventually discovered can be summarized in a single word: presence. That's it. Presence. Such a simple word. A word I had heard countless times. A word I had read in books. A word spoken by teachers, mystics, and sages throughout history. But hearing the word and knowing the reality are two very different things. For the first time, I wasn't understanding it intellectually, I was experiencing it directly. And what became clear was astonishing. Behind every form is the formless. Behind every thought is stillness. Behind every experience is awareness. Behind every identity is something that cannot be named. Something that existed before every story you tell about yourself. Something untouched by age, untouched by success, untouched by failure, untouched by fear. Something changeless in the midst of constant change, something eternal. And perhaps the greatest discovery of all is this. We spend our lives searching for what we already are, looking everywhere except the one place where it can be found, within. The peace we seek is not in the future. The love we seek is not in another person. The freedom we seek is not in achieving more. The truth we seek is not hidden in some distant mountain, sacred temple, or secret teaching. It is here, now, in this moment, waiting patiently beneath every thought, beneath every fear, beneath every story, closer than your breath, closer than your heartbeat, closer than your own name. And when you become still enough to notice it, you discover something extraordinary. You were never separate, you were never lost, you were never broken, you were never searching for truth. Truth was searching for you, and what you are at the deepest level of your being has been present all along. Silent, aware, infinite, whole, eternal. That is our true nature, that is who we are. And that presence is available to each of us right here, right now. Most of us think we are on a journey. We imagine we are moving from pain to happiness, from ignorance to enlightenment, from lack to fulfillment. But what if that isn't true? What if we are not going anywhere? What if awakening isn't about becoming something? What if it's about remembering what we already are? Imagine falling asleep in your own home. You dream that you are lost in a distant country. You wander for years trying to find your way back. Then one day you wake up, and suddenly you realize you never left home. The home was always there. That to me is awakening. For years I searched for answers. For years I searched for God. I searched in temples, in books, I searched in teachers. I searched for some divine being somewhere outside myself, perhaps a wise old man with a long white beard sitting in the clouds. But eventually I discovered something astonishing. What I was looking for was the one who was looking. The seeker and the sought were never separate. The one searching for the light is the light. The one searching for truth is the itself. The one searching for God is not separate from God. And when that realization lands, something incredible happens. You begin to laugh, not because life suddenly becomes perfect, not because all your problems disappear, but because you finally see the cosmic joke. The thing you were searching for your entire life has been looking through your eyes all along. The treasure was never hidden, only overlooked. Beneath every story of rejection, beneath every feeling of unworthiness, beneath every fear, beneath every wound, there is something within you that has never been damaged, never been broken, never been abandoned, never been lost. This is what forgiveness revealed to me. Moo grandfather was dreaming. My family was dreaming. The little girl who felt rejected was dreaming. And when you truly see this, blame begins to disappear. The need to punish disappears. The need to hold on to old pain disappears. Even the need to condemn yourself disappears. Because everyone was acting from their level of conditioning. Everyone was doing the best they knew how. When this understanding becomes real, suffering begins to dissolve. Not because the past changes, but because your relationship to the past changes. Today, this is the path I walk. And this is the message I wish to share. Not as someone who has all the answers, not as a guru, not as someone special, but simply as a fellow traveler who has walked through grief, fear, frustration, confusion, rejection, and searching. I discovered that what was waiting at the end was not something new. It was the oldest thing there is. It is the only identity there is. Presence, stillness, awareness, the silent peace that exists beneath every thought. the quiet that remains beneath every emotion, the timeless being that has always been here. That is who you I am, that is who you are. Not the story, not the wounds, not the labels, not the past. You are the awareness in which all those things appear. And if there is one thing I hope you take away from this conversation, it is this. You do not need to become worthy, you need to become whole. You already are. You do not need to find yourself. You are yourself. You do not need to reach God. You have never been separate from God. You are one with God. The journey home is simply the recognition that you never left. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this message resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who may need to hear it. And remember, the light you seek is the light that is looking through you. The truth that you were seeking to know, you are that truth. Until next time, be still, be present, and be at peace.